Well, thank you so much for helping out. It's another session for you. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back to watch my video. Thank you so much. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ransom Nima, fourth year radiography medical student based in Nigeria. And apart from my studies, I'm also a proficient medical writer. And apart from my writing as well, I own a YouTube. So today I have an amazing guest speaker. She's an amazing personality. Hey, Hajar, could you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me on here, Ransom. I feel honored. My name is Hajar Tukur. I am actually an intern medical doctor here studying in Istanbul, Turkey. And I also work simultaneously in healthcare and health tech marketing. I've been doing so for about the past 3 to 4 years of just sole health tech and innovation. And yeah, that's a bit of my background.
Amazing, amazing. So sorry, did you study medicine in your undergraduate degree?
Yeah, medicine is currently my undergraduate degree. Yeah.
Like, what could you tell us your specialty on the
Uh, so,
medicine?
so currently, the medical degree is just like a general medical degree, but I do plan on specializing afterwards, hopefully within ophthalmology.
Okay, amazing. That's amazing. So you want to be ahead of optometrists? That's amazing,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, slightly different than optometrists. Optometrists don't perform surgery. Ophthalmologists do perform surgery.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's just different between the two, but they kind of
yeah,
like doing the
that's
same thing.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
gonna ask something similar.
Hey, we have a couple of questions for you to answer for the audience. You ready?
Yeah.
So even looking downwards and reading the questions to Hajar, to read and share her narratives on those questions. So the first question for you is, how do you balance the demands of being an intern medical doctor with your role as a marketer for health tech innovation? Tell us.
Yeah. I mean, it seems kind of like a basic answer, but essentially, I feel like if there's a will, there's a way. I started off with marketing as a hobby, and eventually it turned into an avenue that it could be kind of a paid, almost side gig, even though I don't like to call it like a side hustle or anything. But I feel I feel privileged and I am an advocate for having more than one profession if you enjoy it for as long as you enjoy it for. And it's a privileged place to be because a lot of people have jobs, multiple jobs, because they need to have jobs. So saying like how do I manage the demand almost has like kind of a negative connotation, whereas if I flip the perspective and see it as actually it's a privilege that I get to be an intern medical doctor and get to work in health tech because I choose to, not because I have to.
Amazing. So, how does your role as a marketer for health tech innovation correlate with your medical studies in medicine? Tell us.
Well, with my there is no like direct correlation since I'm still studying and I just kind of started within the practice. But while I'm in practice, I can see the areas that can be improved with health tech, and I can see the areas that would not, that health tech cannot help improve, even though we can see them trying to be implemented. There's a lot of health tech that cannot be operable within the actual clinical space. And I think being someone who is kind of in between the two, you can see what can work and what can't work. Yeah.
Yeah, before I move further to the next question, did you start out as a marketer for health tech innovation when you were studying medicine or after you graduated?
Now, while still in medicine, I started with it when I was in my third year as a content creator. So felt since I have, a bit of the knowledge of medicine, maybe I can create content. And beforehand, I thought maybe at one point I wanted to be an influencer. So I was posting content on my own personal Instagram, seeing if I could do the whole influencer thing in fashion and beauty. But I felt like I preferred making it for other people, and I wanted it to have meaning. So I might as well do it within the medicine space. So that's kind of how it started. Yeah, just as a content creator.
You started when you were in your third year, right?
Yes.
How do you balance that equation between your content creation skills and because your medical degree, because studying medicine is a very hectic kind of thing to do.
Yeah.
People really feared by many, and it's lovable. The course is really lovable. So tell us how you balanced your studies and your content creation then
Yeah.
to now. Tell us.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of long hours, to be honest. And when I did work as in content creation and marketing, I only worked part time, so about 15 to 20 hours a week. And I made sure whoever I was working with, they knew that I am a medical student and studying is my priority. So some weeks, if I have an exam, let's say this week, there I'll ask for me to have less hours this week. Like I'm not going to be able to submit some things by this week, but I will make up for it next week. So I can work 5 hours this week, and then next week I'll work 35. I mean, there's days that I'd come back home and it's like 6, 7 p.m. and I just have to like take a cup of coffee and just start off. Like after my 8 to 5, there's like a 5 to 9 or even later. I don't recommend the unhealthy balance, but I always like prioritize. I never went with less than like 6 hours of sleep. Like I always prioritize that. But it's the same way. Like if you enjoy it and you're always looking forward to getting better and learning, if there's a will, there's a way.
Amazing. I love the fact that you gave the most priority towards to you gave your topmost priority to your studies over your content creation, which is an
Oh,
amazing stuff.
yeah.
Um, so that drives me to the next question for me. So how do you stay updated on the latest advancements in both medicine and health technology to effectively bridge the gap between the two fields? So how do you do it? Tell us.
Um, well, I guess it's the same as what someone who's in the individual fields would do. So someone who is, just in medicine and focused in medicine will, um, subscribe to journals. So that's something that I do. I subscribe to high impact journals. I subscribe to Lancet, JAMA, BMJ, like, the top notch ones. And every week, you get emails of what are the new clinical trials, what's the new drug in the market, the new device that's being let out. So it's awesome to stay on top of that. And then on the health tech side, obviously staying in social media, even though I have a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn, it's an important way to stay updated, following, you know, pages like the Healthtech podcast is one of my favorites. I worked a little bit on it. So Healthtech Pigeon and some other great creators. So having to be in both avenues and making sure to always stay updated with both will be able to like mediate the information that you can get in between.
But you're aware of some fake news about health out there. So how do you know the credible sources you use? How do you know this is a credible source to go for? Because for newbies out there, they're gonna watch the
Yeah.
video and where exactly should I find all these credible sources and not the fake ones? So tell us.
Mhm. I mean, if something is not evidence based, like you should always be wary of it. I mean, if there is no proof to support any type of advancement, you should be wary of it. I mean, I see there's like clinician creators out there trying to debunk information that's out there because there is like an infodemic within the world. So I encourage people to be more cautious and to really research. And when I say research, not just like see what the top YouTuber has to say about it. Go into PubMed if it's something, if you're concerned about a disease or something, like search it up, read it directly from there, and get evidence based information. Um, than just what is being marketed. Because essentially, if it's posted on social media like about a device, it's being marketed. They're not gonna say everything, and we can't fault them for that. That's what marketing is. But it's someone's personal responsibility to go up and do the research on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do agree. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Hajar. So, wait, hold on. I should be calling you Dr. Hajar, right?
I mean, technically, my graduation is in less than a month, so I guess I'm still just a medical student. But the doctor sounds nice.
All right. All right. So, by the end of July, I'll be calling you Doctor, right?
Sure.
Congratulations. It's not road, to study medicine. You know, kudos to you. You worked hard for it, and here you are talking about your graduation. It's an amazing step, and your story has really, you know, encouraged other medical students are going to watch this video, and other students as well in different specialties in medicine can really
Yeah.
relate from as well. So the next question for you is, in your experience, right, what are some key factors to consider when evaluating the effectiveness and potential impact of a health tech innovation? Tell us.
I mean, when evaluating health tech innovation or just any type of innovation to begin with, even if it's like devices, we look at a couple of factors. You're going to look at the safety, you'll look at the clinical relevance and efficacy of it, you look at how it operates and its interoperability with what is currently there, of course, evidence-based medicine, and then how, if it's has any regulatory approval. But those are just what you see out front. But when you look deeper into it, when we're saying, okay, safety for who? Majority of even clinical trials, like when they're doing testing on who, it's known that people that look like us are less likely to be in clinical trials. And so when we're looking at how it can impact our society now, there is a group that's going to be underrepresented. So um, even if there's like all the evidence to show that a health tech company, yeah, this has the potential to benefit people, like there's always that segment that's going to be like, yeah, but for who? So I think it's important for people like you and I, and that look like us, to be, and other people of color as well, to really be in this space and encourage more of us to be in clinical trials, to as much as people are weary about downloading health apps, they're going to take our data and stuff, like, so like we want them to be in some degree to have our data, because the technology is made based on data, and the data is also being used to feed clinical trials. It's almost like a circle, and we need to feed ourselves into it. So this is how we can increase the impact on an individual level as well.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. All right, the last question for you is, can you discuss a particularly successful marketing campaign or strategy you've implemented to promote health tech product or service to healthcare professionals or consumers as well?
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what didn't work before I tell you what works. Um, we were working on a marketing campaign to help boost, hopefully, sales and what's the word? hopefully boost sales of a health tech product within the baby care industry. And our team, let's say, really wanted to push the idea of influencer marketing. And I personally dislike influencer marketing. I feel like in some lights it can come off as disingenuous, and you have to do it like really. There's a really particular way to do influencer marketing to not make it seem like an ad. So we tried that for a while. I think we spent maybe like $15,000 just on influencer marketing, and it worked to an extent, but it didn't give us the results that we were looking for. And at the time, I did it because I was still like new to the space, and I wanted to do what was asked for me. But when I dug a little bit deeper, I realized that what the audience wanted, which were newborn parents, they wanted information that can help them with their day-to-day, short, concise and helpful. And so, they say content is king, content is king. And, there's the recent paper that came out, I think a couple of months ago now, on Nature, that says that like information is a determinant of health. The information that you have can dictate almost life or death. So I started writing content on things like shaken baby syndrome, which is a really like hard topic to talk about with parents. But there's a way to say it to not scare a newborn parent, and then build that rapport with the customer before then promoting your product. Then just for them to just see a bunch of influencers with the product, like it doesn't create any emotional connection with the audience. And that's what started to work. So the marketing campaign should start set up from emotion and not just following trends. I mean, influencer marketing has been a trend, it's still a trend, but it won't work for every audience.
Amazing. We've come to the end of this session. Haji, you've been an amazing guest speaker for the audience. So before we wrap up this session today, what are your last words for the audience?
If you're interested in something, do it. To be honest, I should take the advice myself. Like, do something up until you stop enjoying it. That's what I have to say.
Okay, so if you love this content, do want to like, subscribe, and share to your network. Hopefully, someone in your network will really adhere to this video. Thank you so much, Hajar.
Thank you for having me.